Hi and welcome to LifeShot. Today I'm interviewing Liz Marsland, who's an exercise and movement specialist. She also runs a corporate wellbeing company called Wellbeing. Today we speak about how office work could be shaving years off your life. If you're working 7 to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, then more than likely your body is taking a strain that you don't necessarily know about. So listen in today as we talk about the different ways in which office work can affect your lives, and also the ways in which you can start to overcome this by introducing some new and good habits into your life that will help you to live longer and stronger.
Hey yo, it's the LifeShot podcast. Change your world and change the world.
Hey, welcome Liz Marsland to the LifeShot podcast. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. Beautiful sunny day in England. Thank you very much for having me.
That's amazing. Yeah, and it's a pleasure having you. It's May the 20th when we're recording this, and it's a really beautiful day out there. And a day that can't be missed even if you're working at home like I am in the office here, which is actually partly jewelry studio for my wife over there. And I work over here. You can't see the mess here, but there's like tables and loads of stuff.
You're running a tight ship inside there with both of you working back to back.
Yeah, but we're normally one at a time because of kids, we got 4 little ones, not little, but
oh wow,
8 years old, 7, 5 and 3. So keep us busy.
Wow, busy house. So maybe enjoy your study time for a little bit, going into the study and away from the madness for a little bit.
Yeah, very true. I take it in doses, small doses of mad children. Cool. So Liz, I met you through Julie Langlois, who's been on the LifeShot podcast twice, and she met you in South Africa. So I suppose my first question is actually, and I read your your about page, is about your journeys into this health and wellness stream, or this business, and then you've eventually focused on well-being in the workplace, or at least it's one of your focuses. But I want to hear about your travels. I think you grew up in Malta, you said, and you went to Thailand and then South Africa. Just tell us a little bit about your journey so far.
Okay, well that's quite a story, I suppose. So I grew up in the countryside in England, very active and outdoors, so I was very lucky to have that real country upbringing, and I think that had a big influence on my appreciation of health and movement from a very early age. And we moved to Malta for a year, so I had that coastal experience, living life by the beach. And then we moved back to England, studied sports science. I was always very sporty, but then I had this lust for travel, I think because we'd spent that time in Malta when I was young, so I found a way to do that. At the time that was teaching English, so I taught English overseas in South Korea for 3 years, and Switzerland. And then I was trying to find ways to get back into sports and coaching kids maybe, and using my degree more and getting back into sports and wellbeing. And I kept meeting these brilliant South Africans on my trips, and I kept meeting these people. They actually were all from Rhodes randomly, so everyone that I got on best with was from Rhodes. I think you know that place quite well. So from there, then I kept traveling to South Africa, and I visited some mates there, and I think I felt this connection with them because they had that outdoor upbringing as well. Most of the ones that I met really into health as well. I think as a culture, you guys are probably quite aware of the importance of health and being outside, and a very sports-driven nation. Sports sort of brought everyone together, didn't it? And that, I really felt that connection with them on that. So I actually made my way to
in South Africa. If you don't do sports when you're in school, you're kind of frowned upon. You have to try. Yeah. You have to try sports, at least one type of sports. It's kind of mandatory. So I remember being in high school, and you had to try rugby. If you didn't try rugby, then you'd kind of be like, it was it's not like something you could choose. You got to try it for a season. If you didn't like it, then fine, don't play it.
What's wrong with you if you're not running outside somewhere?
Yeah, so it's true. We used to get a lot of sun in Africa. So that's good. Yeah. And so how your time in South Africa, just talk about that for briefly.
So I went over there for the World Cup. I started working at a backpackers, started coaching kids with Playball. I don't know if you've heard of Playball. It's a sports program for little kids. Worked in townships a little bit, and I quickly realised I was kind of trying to live off the UK tourist dream of trying to save kids through, sports development. It wasn't really making much money. So I pursued then with personal training, moved to Joburg and worked there for 6 years. And that's how I originally got into corporate wellbeing. So I really noticed there was a massive problem with guys who are working really hard, but still trying to push in triathlons and getting the same sort of injuries, and all related to being desk-bound quite a lot. So I started working with banks like FNB, RMB, and doing some massage and corporate wellbeing there.
They're kind of like having a massage at work, or what was that?
Yeah, exactly that. So a lady there, she was actually working in the wellbeing centre at FNB in Santon, and we connected. We got along really well. We had that same passion of wanting to make a difference with these guys. So it's kind of guys like middle-aged, but still trying to push that I'm a pro athlete dream, in their spare time. But when you're highly stressed and stuck in one position at work all day, and then you try and blitz out that amount of exercise to an intensity, you're bound to get an injury. So we wanted to set up a massage station, maybe once a month or once every 2 weeks, just to start making an impact on posture related issues and see how we could help.
So
and then
what was the impact of that? What was the outcomes?
It was actually, I was surprised because I thought it was kind of things that everyone knew about. But what we found, and that's why I became more and more interested, what I found was there was such a lack of knowledge around how you sit affects your body. And people just didn't know, even like the brightest of guys were all having headaches and shoulder issues and even digestion issues, lower back, of course. All these similar issues. So it's very simple things that you can do to fix it. And once they knew what to do, the reaction was really good. They were quite surprised, like, oh, okay, you fix my back a little bit, and can you help me, with the next step. So it's just a step on the journey, but I think it's a vital piece of the journey that people don't look at enough.
For sure.
That's all.
So I want to ask about the outdoors and nature, because for me, when I was thinking about the title of this podcast, it would be, I've mentioned it to a colleague before, and I said it's death by office work. And
exactly that.
I think that there is a statistic around that says if you do work in an office and you have this sedentary lifestyle, that your percentage of dying younger is higher. So you're shaving off years from your life because you're working in this environment. So I want to talk about the outdoors, right? So my kids, we encourage them to play outdoors, and I've mentioned this before on a podcast and to some other people, is that we've got all our gardens are facing each other here and where we live.
Oh, nice.
And you can kind of see, you can't see into the gardens proper, but you can kind of see a little bit, and you can hear. And my kids are the ones playing out the most, even in cooler weather, and that. It's because we encourage our kids to get out there and say, I mean, not everyone's got a nice garden, but we've got a decent garden, and because we spend some money on making it really good for the kids. So there's swing sets, there's trampolines, there's a few other things that they can play with, a mud kitchen and all that. And so growing up in Zimbabwe initially for me, and then in South Africa, it was very much an outdoor lifestyle. But being in England, it's more challenging because of the weather sometimes. It's cold. But during your office day, I know I work in Cambridge and there's a botanical garden there. So we do have passes to walk into the botanical gardens, which is quite nice. But not everyone uses that, of course. But what's your take on outdoors? What's the importance, and how should we schedule it into our lives?
Yeah, like you say, I was blessed because we had grounds in our house that we grew up in. So I had that knocked into me. Between the ages of 0 and 10, you're made most of the human that you're going to be, aren't you? That's what they say. So if you are put outside, it becomes part of your life, part of your blood. So I was really lucky that I had that. Sounds like you were as well. It definitely is more challenging in the city. I know when I was a teenager in Nottingham, we'd just get out on our bikes. We still really wanted to be outside. So it's difficult in England to be outside so much, but I really think I agree with you. It's important to start that from the kids. So then it's just in them to find ways to be outside. If you didn't have that as a kid, it's bit more challenging. And I think these are probably the clients that I see that it is more challenging to get them to go outside, because they haven't experienced that love of hiking in the rain, you know, and that kind of thing that we do in England. So we'll still go hiking, go walking. It's raining, we're like, oh well, you know, just put the hood up, and it's not going to be torrential rain, so it's pretty fine. But definitely that's a challenge with the office work. So all we can do in that case is encourage people to find, like you say, areas close to the workplace that they can go for a walk. There's usually somewhere where you can find a little park or a little spot, especially in London, areas around London. You can find somewhere that maybe is a 20-minute walk or something like that, that you can go out, get some steps. It's not always about moving and exercising madly. What I see is a lot of people go to the gym at lunchtime and they try and smash this hour exercise. But actually it's more about, like you say, being outside and connecting with nature a little bit and refreshing the brain as well, and getting away from that fast-paced office environment with desks and people and busyness around you everywhere. So being outside, I think, is vital, not only for the body and giving it a chance to move, but just for the whole self to get a chance to get some refreshment.
So you mentioned, I think you mentioned active meetings in one of your presentations you showed me. What is that?
This surprised me, because this was one of my first companies I worked with in London. They said they actually already had that. So one of the directors, and I find with the SMEs, the small to medium enterprises, it's usually one or two of the directors that are passionate about activity, and they put these ideas in with their team, which is great. But this one chap had realised the importance of moving. So every 20 minutes in the meeting, he gets everyone up and they walk around. So you're still continuing the meeting. Maybe it's a bit more of a relaxed chat, but you're carrying on, but you're moving, which is great. And I'm pretty sure that would improve the connection with people as well. You know, like your communication will differ. It's a bit more relaxed. I think that would be a great idea.
So that's a challenge for some people who might be listening and say, well, the next meeting we have, even if it's like 4 to 6 people or 4 to 8 people, just get up and do something.
Exactly. Even if you just stand there, you carry on talking, but you're standing at least, and then you can move your hips a little bit. Yeah. You know, move fine about, and that's what it's about. So
it'd probably make meetings more productive, and at least you'd be more awake and alert, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think one of the problems at work is people's concentration span. I mean, when you're a child, I was told it was 20 minutes. I can't imagine it's much more than that for adults for a good amount of concentration. So if every 20 minutes they've moved and it's changed their environment, I think it would refresh your concentration as well. So it can only be a good thing. I think it's a bit of a cultural thing, isn't it? So if you have somebody at the top pushing that culture, it will work. But you need to have people who will relax with it and have a little laugh, and not take it all too seriously, I think.
Yeah, and actually that's one of my questions a bit later, which is about what can companies do to encourage more movement. But before we do that, we got this thing at work, which is, are you sitting comfortably? And it's one of these health and safety trainings that you have to do every year. And they're quite annoying, right? But I know they're very helpful. So it's like all these questions, like, oh, yes, I'm fine. The screen's fine. Yes, I'm sitting upright. Blah, blah, blah. And so you're like, just get on with it. But I know the importance. And also when I saw your slide deck and your presentation, I was like, oh my word. Some of those things are pretty scary, right?
Yeah.
But so I spoke to a colleague yesterday, and we were having a meeting, and we use some technology like Power BI, and it's got this screen, and when you're using a small screen, everything's like you've got to move around, and you're like looking at it. It's got a 27-inch screen, and he showed me everything's all in one place, and he said, "Oh, it's bliss." So I thought, I wonder what that does for someone's their soul, their spirit, their mind, their well-being. I wonder how it actually affects it. If we just think sometimes, oh, it's just technology, but actually is that setting up your environment and having, not everyone can have the best, but something that is beneficial. I mean, what does it do for you? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think there's so many small elements that I touch on when I give presentations, that includes, so your vision. So if you're always looking at a small screen, like you say, your eyes are straining all the time. We don't really think about the muscles around our eyes, but your eyes are straining all the time in this short vision. And then we're not looking around, but think about when you get your best ideas and your best creativity, and you're using a different part of your brain when you're actually looking afar. So if you get a nice view, top of a mountain, if you're looking outside, one of the reasons we feel better inside is, like you say, it's refreshes using a different part of your brain. You're able to get creativity in that time. You're probably a bit more aware of your body when you look away. So I always say try and every 20 minutes as well, do something that is helping your environment like that. So maybe it is just looking outside of the window whilst you're on a call. What can you do? The small things that can change your environment. Move your wrists a little bit. I make people do all these funny exercises when I'm giving talks, just so they can experience it. And it's such a small thing, but it can really improve your environment in the day. So yeah, I totally agree with you. And some of the simple things as well, like people say, I'm sure you've heard, having mess around you, clutter in your life. It's clutter in your brain as well. So keeping things a little bit tidy and having like a bit of space around you, and so that you're not strained all the time.
Which is the challenge, because sometimes you clean your desk once a month and then it just gets piled up again. Like, I can't be bothered. I just got to get on with the work day.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it also becomes familiar. So you go to your little seats, and I imagine as well in these big busy offices, it's your little personal space, isn't it? It's like your car. So you kind of want that familiarity. You want things where they are. But the problem is, it just needs an external eye to come in, because say if you're at a corner desk, that's something that I see so common. If I'm giving someone a massage, for instance, I can always tell if they're in a corner desk, because their one shoulder and their trap will be so tight, and usually that translates to having headaches on that side.
Oh, really?
Your sort of optic nerve behind your head, which attaches at the top of your neck into your skull. And I'll say, do you get headaches by your left eye? Like, oh yeah, how do you know that? And it's just it's all so interlinked. And then put that in with a cross-legged position for 5 hours a day. Then the left hip is twisted. It's small things that over time have these massive impacts. So although we want that comfort and familiarity of our environment, it's just really important to get maybe an external eye just to shake it up every so often, I think. I'll see you straightening up there, Clint.
Yes, I need to get a better chair, actually, because I'm working from home. We had a meeting at our work yesterday about we can get some screens from our office and some chairs. So I said, yes, I actually need one of those, because looking at a laptop screen is
not ideal.
So yeah, I need to improve my working area here. But so it's all, this is where we want to come to, what companies are doing. It's well and good telling employees to move every 20 minutes, but most people will hear it and forget. Even maybe coming to your training, they're like, yes, I want to do all these wrist movements. And I suppose it's about habits. So I was shocked to see that slide about one of the possible effects of sitting every day for years and years is maybe colon cancer. And that's enough for me to say, all right, I better get in a routine, but I was thinking, what about companies? How are they going to encourage this besides the usual messages that they send out, like, maybe like an employee email or something? What's your take? How do we get people to actually make these things habits?
Well, that was my big issue to look at, and that's why I really love going in to talk to people in person. Can start off as a bit of a, you can sometimes see people rolling their eyes like, oh, another educational session at lunchtime, what have we got here? But I make it interactive. So, and by using that shock technique that you saw a bit on the slides, like you mentioned, there's quite a few things that immediately you'll see people like, oh wow, I didn't realize that, so I sort of use that personal touch. So one thing that people always do is the chin poke. So, just leaning your head a tiny bit forwards. If your head weighs about 4 or 5 kilos, I mean, probably for you about 7, because I'm sure you're very intelligent. But if you lean forward with your chin by 15 degrees, that translates to 12 kilo pressure on the back of your neck.
Really?
And if you think about your spine and those vertebrae,
Wow.
And just saying that, people are like, oh, and then you link that with headaches, shoulder pain. And then if, like you say, the colon cancer thing, all those organs that you're hunching over all day and then putting all that pressure under your ribs, they're not getting blood flow. Your spinal discs, they're not getting any blood flow or oxygen. So, what do you do when you can't pass things through your body? It's all kind of scare techniques that I use. And then every 10 minutes I show them an exercise to do. So I think with a bit of scare tactic and having someone there, it's quite useful. Usually I can find, you've got to connect with people on a personal level, haven't you? So trying to find the ways with individuals, what that would be for them and how it would relate to them. And there are some clever gadgets. So you can download on your computer off Google something that tells you to reminds you to move every 20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
But like I say, it's all kind of company jargon unless you connect on that personal level with people. And that's why we wanted to go in and then offer these massage services, offer real life talks, and then have follow-up services. So that, you know, that's my job. Then I'm there to help people individually and find what it is for them that will connect, because you're not going to do it if someone tells you to do it.
Oh yeah.
You've got to have a reason, haven't you?
Well, it'd be a massive incentive if we could have massages at work, and then be like, yeah, I'll get up. I'll get up every half an hour, whatever it may be.
That's it.
Well, maybe this, right? If you have a tracker, I'm just talking nonsense, but if you have a tracker and you get up 8 times a day, then you build up points to get a massage. How about that?
That's fantastic. That's my new business model. Thank you.
So you have to earn your massage.
Yeah, and who's won the massage this week?
Yeah, exactly.
But there are some incentives as well that companies use. So I've suggested to quite a few companies that, like a points card, like you said. So have an app or have just a card or something online. And there's, like you said, there's a tracker. So it will work with quite large offices. So every time they go to, you know, their food choice, for instance, they can log their food choice from the canteen, and that gets them a certain amount of points for, you know, green points for health and X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. Same for perhaps the amount of times they walked up and down the stairs, or, you know, just sort of tracking their activity themselves. Honesty scheme, you know, it's just for them, and then at least they're taking accountability for it, as well as getting, I think, the empowerment for it, because they're doing it themselves. They're not being told to do it, and then they get a reward. Perhaps it's a massage, perhaps it's you know, whatever the reward be, and it's great for the company too, because they get all the wellness checks, the employment's DPR points, aren't there, that companies want, and it shows that they're good employers. So,
and you mentioned, yeah, they're great places to work, because if a company does put effort into this type of thing, then they're setting themselves up for what's the word, reputation for being a great place to work.
Absolutely, yeah. So when you're very bright students googling where the best places to work, you know, all the traffic will go to them. I mean, Google, for instance, is famous for that, isn't it, for all the perks that they give. Yeah, so I think there's a lot to it, and there's so many reasons for companies to push it. It reduces absenteeism, you know, all the stats that I would talk to the director about. But yeah, so if it's not just for the company, it's the way to connect with the employees and make it so they feel empowered doing it. And I do find after my sessions, you know, I have quite a few people individually asking me about things afterwards, which is great, because they're showing an interest. And, you know, who doesn't want to feel better? Who doesn't want to feel great?
I suppose people want to feel better by hacking it. And that's why there's all these hacking things, right? But I suppose there are some hacks that are legitimate and will get you to your goals quicker. But I suppose we're just used to getting things really quickly and not having to put that work in. But
yeah.
No, I was going to say, because there's this what I've experienced is that in the beginning of trying to put effort into something, it's always a hard work until you hit this almost like not a plateau, but this breaking point of it feeling almost easier to do. And then the rewards, because you're feeling good, perpetuate that action. So for example, it's like, oh, I want to continue doing this now because I feel good. But in the beginning, you don't get that. And that's the hard part. It's the people might start gym for 3 months and then give up, or they might start a habit for a few months and then give up. It's almost, you got to just push through until you get to that breaking point of, oh, I'm feeling better now, and it's because of this, so I want to keep going. Yeah,
and what's nice about all these little tips on a physical level, I mean, even just tucking your chin in and sitting up straight a little bit and moving every 20 minutes, or I even say just breathe every 20 minutes, you know, the power of just sitting in a good position and breathing into your belly. You know, it just changes your nervous system. You get more clear-headed, you feel a bit happier, you're probably more likely to be laughing with your friends about it as well, because you're all going to sit there doing these exercises or tucking your chin in. So it creates a bit of banter. And then, like you say, if there's a reward system and they're actually getting some rewards for it as well that makes them happy, then hopefully, like I say, that would transpire to a habit being formed, and they're getting wins all around.
For sure. So we mentioned a few of the shock factors. And you mentioned, okay, so the blood's not getting down into this area here. Well, I want to talk, if you know, maybe the more long-term benefit, the long-term bad side effects of this office sedentary lifestyle. So what do you think it is that over time would really be bad for us? Like you mentioned the hunchback, for example.
Yeah, so the hunchback, I mean, I actually saw a guy who's a dramatic case study. He had a disc bulge. So in that, if you imagine when you're leaning forwards, that extreme curve at the top of your back, where it joins the neck, his discs were so compressed. So he had nerve compression, disc bulge in the end, just from that, purely from posture. He was a busy dad on the phone all day, and just from holding that stress in his shoulders and then putting that extra tension on the neck there, disc bulge, had to have an operation. You know, so that's pretty massive.
Massive, yeah.
And then there are really, really high increased cancer risks because of the lack of oxygen and lack of blood delivery to your organs. So increased gastric cancer, unfortunately, and colon cancer, like you say. You're just not detoxing. Movement creates blood flow, muscle blood flow, and part of that is your detox system. And then lower back pain is chronic, isn't it? So many people have headaches, lower back pain, and neck pain, and those three are majority, like I could probably link 90% of cases to their posture and how they're sitting in their day and how active they are. But mostly from sitting, because these people who even go and exercise 2 hours a day, the biggest shock I think to people is that even if you exercise 2 hours a day or 1 hour a day, and you cycle to work and you seem quite active to your friends, the fact that you've sat down or been in one position for 8 hours of that day, your hip flexors are super tight, your glutes are turned off, you're hunched over, you know, you're in this hunched position. You can't suddenly undo that with 2 hours of working out, unfortunately. So the tightness of your hip flexors can, you know, create back pain, and then you're going to make that worse when you jump into a 1 hour sprint or 1 hour football match or something. You know, I'm sure you've got friends, as soon as you're in your 30s, even late 20s, it's like, oh, I played footy and I pulled my hamstring because that never used to happen when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's because they suddenly, when they were a kid, they weren't sitting down all that time. They were always moving. Yeah, I think it has a massive impact on lifestyle. And then also, you know, I always talk about when they're hunched over, you're in a fear position. You know, when you're hunched over, you're actually, that's what starts linking psychologically as well. You're in a fear position. You're holding your body in what is, you know, in primal man was kind of being scared and fearful and making yourself feel small. So I truly believe it has a big effect on your confidence level as well.
Wow, that's amazing. So we don't realize it, but we're doing ourselves a disservice by sitting in that position. Really. So,
yeah, I mean, imagine if you walk into an interview or something and you're hunched over, you actually just feel a bit small and you feel a bit rubbish. But if you just correct that, take a deep breath and sort yourself out, you feel bigger and you feel more confident. And I really think that has a massive effect on our daily life. So you want to feel like that more in the day.
Yeah, I was listening to Jordan Peterson talking about the lobster. And what was he talking about? You know, the number one lobster, chest out. You know,
yeah.
don't be like this and all cowardly. Oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I want to talk about actually is I saw that you liked cycling, and I was talking to John Nicholson, who's been on the show as well, and he runs the original gym in Cambridge, and he does a lot of the natural movements of the body movements, flexibility, you know, isometrics, all that type of stuff. And I was thinking about cyclists, for example. They may be fit, cardiovascular fit, strengthen the legs, but then they're bending over like that. So you see a lot of sports people. You've been involved with, like you mentioned, the rugby teams and all that. What are sports people? What mistakes are they making, like as far as flexibility and movement and stuff?
So that's a massive one. So if you can imagine in Joburg, and I think probably in London especially as well, all the cyclists. So triathlons and cycling is a big one in Joburg. So we saw a lot of triathletes. And in London, like you say, it's cyclists, people commuting to work. You're not stretching or anything. You're just hopping on your bike, cycling in a pretty stressed way, leaning over that same posture for an hour, sitting in that position all day as well, and then going back to your bike. So basically, what you're always in that sitting forward position. Your body's never opening up. So if you imagine if you're squatting or doing side to side lunges, that's when we use our glutes to the side of our hips, and that your hip strength protects your lower back as well. So as long as we're just sat forwards and hunched up, so you've got that tight hip flexor at the front of your thigh, that's always in a shortened position when you're sitting, and that same curve at the top of your spine, same in cycling and sitting at the desk. You're just compounding those factors, so you're still not getting that core strengthening, that side to side, that twisting motion. One movement that I suggest to people at work is just twisting, standing up and twisting around, because you get that disc, the blood flow to your discs and the oxygen delivery. People don't realize that your discs are living things, like it needs oxygen, it needs nutrients. So you need to move your back and spine in lots of different ways. And then obviously with that neck compression at the top with cyclists as well, you're lengthening all of those muscles behind your shoulders. Where a muscle is always lengthened, it's weak. So they've often got weak, and it just compounds that hunch, compounds all that nerve tension at the top of the neck. You've got a lot of neck muscles that attach to the lower part of your skull, and where they're always pulling and carrying that weight of your skull, then they catch on the nerves, and that's where you get the headaches. You can even have sort of cloudy headed and blurred vision because of that. You know, it's so many different side effects to it all. So I see all of the same things, and they often get bad backs, lower backs, because they're not strengthening their glutes enough, and that tightness at the front pulls into your lower back as well. So it's always the same thing with cyclists and these kind of A-type personalities, we call them.
A-type.
Working hard, and then pushing really hard in cycling afterwards, you know.
So you mentioned the obliques. I was listening to, I can't remember his name now. Oh, it's unfortunate. He was the coach for the American gymnastics team that went to the Olympics. And he was on a podcast, he was on London Real interview. And he mentioned that the area, if I remember correctly, he's talking about the obliques and saying that it's one of the most underutilized areas and muscle groups, which are actually one of the most important pieces.
Absolutely.
So what do you suggest for people to work that area?
Yeah, so what I try to describe to people is, you'll see so many people working what they call the core, and the core is actually all of the muscles that hold together the top half of your body to the lower part of your body. So that includes your hips, your glutes, your obliques. Your obliques are running in a sort of diagonal way across that to bind it in, and so it's so vital. So if you have weak obliques but really strong upper abs, it's not going to really protect you as soon as you're knocked sideways or you're really pulled, because the front of your leg is super tight. So it's really vital that you do work the obliques. So I program a lot of side planks. So there's a lot of different variety of side planks. I started watching Mo Farah, his training on YouTube as well, and I was lucky enough to see the Springboks and some of the All Blacks players as well on some massage work that we did. So we were getting their tips from their coaches too, and they're also doing quite a lot of this primal movement, like you say, like the guy in the image that you said. So cross body movements, diagonal movement across the body. So, and then side planks as well, which stabilizes the shoulder as well as your side of the hips or the glutes, as well as the obliques. So that's such a good one. What a lot of people do is hold that side plank that they've seen on Instagram, or personal trainers told them, or YouTube or something, and they're not really learning how to activate properly. They're just probably leading into their arm and their toe and not really working the side. So it does take maybe a coach to show them how to do it properly. But yeah, dynamic side planks.
What about Russian twists?
Russian twists as well make me laugh because they are great. But most people just move like this, so very, very short distance between. So you're basically just rocking from side to side a little bit. To do a Russian twist properly, you should take the weight, put it all the way down on the floor next to you. So you're moving as far around as possible. Bring it to the front, pause, and then go all the way around to the other side. So again, it's just having a good trained eye to show you how to move properly. So that's, again, the mistakes that people make. They triathletes as well. I've worked with some triathlon coaches because they often program strength training, but they're not there to see all they don't have the knowledge to help their clients, their athletes with that core programming. So that's something that I sort of specialize in and help with as well. It's just a little bit of a missing gap of how to activate those muscles properly. and it makes a world of difference. You'll be getting PBs through the roof if you if you do that work properly.
Yeah, I've been doing so outside. I've got some hanging I don't know, handles that I got on my kids' jungle gym, and then I try to do I do a pull up, and I try to do I don't know what they call it now. So you basically doing a plank, but like hanging.
Oh yes.
I don't know what they call that, but I've been able to hold it for a bit longer. Been working on my core and then working on my handstands, and I found that more recently I can now correct a handstand if I'm going out of balance, because I think I've been working on the core, which helps me to get that, and the obliques, of course, to help get me that that strength, I guess. So it was pretty cool.
That's very cool. Yeah, I think hanging, L raises, L sits, but it comes back to what you said. It's all these movements that when we were kids we'd be doing all the time through play. Like we used to have a trapeze on a tree, and you know, you're like pulling yourself and whizzing around, and that's when you're moving side to side and you're doing all these human movements and through animal flow and calisthenics, dynamic movement. But when we just go to the gym and cycling and the office, we're always going in that same plane of movement. So like you say, it's exactly what you're saying. Go out and play. And I always, after a bit of a serious talk, I always end up saying to my clients, like, find what you like to do that's fun, because at the end of the day, you're only going to carry on doing it if it's fun. Yeah. You know, like you're having fun, you're messing about, and you're getting results accidentally. Like I'm the same. I love to go handstand walking in the park. It makes me feel like a kid, and I'm also doing loads of, you know, falling over and and working as well. So it's really cool. I want to find that thing that makes you feel playful again as well.
I think we feel like we've got these social barriers in a way. So, you know, what we used to do as a kid, we didn't think about people looking at us. Now we like, oh, then if I want to hang from a bar in a park, or I don't want to do some handstands or cartwheels, you know, cartwheels are for kids.
Exactly. And like weirdly, I don't know if I should say this, but that's something that I've been quite happy to see during this time of lockdown, is people are rediscovering now. You know, now we haven't got the option to go training in the gym, so people are not caring anymore about those social barriers. They're like, I don't care, I'm going outside, I'm going to do this and that and take my top off. I'm applauding it. I think it's great. I hope people are remembering how fun it is to be outside after this as well.
Yeah, I think we've really been blessed with great weather during the lockdown. Some people have, people who live in flats, I understand, maybe not so nice. But, you know, we've had it really good, and there's been no adverse weather that's been compounding the issues. And so we've had it pretty good. I want to end off on the question, which is about your videos. I saw that you got a YouTube channel with some short clips, and I was wondering, you know, do you have a following on other channels or other places that you put out this content, and who should consume those type of videos, or who are you making them for, should we say?
So I've used them for reference for my company. So I do some exercise classes for companies. Obviously it's online at the moment. So I did spend this time at the beginning of this lockdown time to try and get as much info on there to explain the exercises properly. So like I said, the side plank movements, specific glutes, isolated muscle activation. So it's company workers can go on there and just have a look. So I'm giving little sequences using those YouTube videos as reference. And also these triathletes I'm looking at. And anyone who is doing functional fitness, basically. So that's that's quite a broad term, but I would say anyone who's doing circuit training, wants to get fit, but actually cares about getting strong in the right way. So it's kind of a good range of specific muscle activation exercises. So you can easily get on there and make a sequence. Oh, sorry, Clint, you're still on mute.
Oh, I'm on mute. Sorry, my bad. So I was just gonna switch over to just to end this off and just a bit of a screen share quickly. So we're just gonna share this, and then this is your channel here. So for the people who want to find out more about you, this is your channel LM Fit on YouTube, and I suppose you've got a Facebook channel as well.
Yeah, my Facebook is Liz Marsland Fitness. And YouTube channel is LM Fit Personal Trainer. Thank you for that. Got some yoga movements on there as well, and I use kettlebells because I'm a CrossFit athlete and coach. Sort of my personal sport preference at the moment, and so there's quite a few weighted movements there as well. A lot of body weight movements, and the banded resistance work I find is really useful for easy to do at the desk as well. I mean, obviously that's what I would usually show people in these company talks. So that's a great one to help with posture, this banded resistance work, and to get the core working nicely.
I got one
I'm passionate about people moving their whole bodies as one, and that's obviously what you do as well. Have you got a band? Yeah.
I haven't used it in a while. I've got to use it soon.
Yeah, usually when I give a company talk, I just give everybody a band for free. I just hand them out because I'm like, you will have them.
Yeah, no excuses. No excuses.
And I've actually got a funny video in there as well. I made, did you see the Weekend song? And everyone was doing this funny dance on TikTok.
Which one is it?
You can scroll down. It says essential dance warm up. So
essential dance warm up.
Got all the glute activators there with the band. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. So, I missed it.
Is it further down?
Anyway, I'll show you a little dance routine that you can do to warm up. Oh yeah, essential warm up dance is quite fun. So I saw everyone doing it. I was like, I'll give that a chance. It's way better with the music.
Can you hear the music?
No. I can't hear it, so I look like a Wally. So that's me showing you should have fun as well.
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, I always think like have a laugh. Thanks. Yeah, so that's you can download my ebook and sign up for my health newsletter. So I send weekly tips and exercise programs as well.
Yeah.
And then I'm giving away a 4-day program at the moment for home training as well. And that's
a 4-day program. Okay. Very good.
That's my
and this is your Evolve Wellbeing for corporate wellness.
Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, so you can get that 4-day free trial there if you on my website there.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Evolving Wellbeing.
So during this lockdown, I wanted to get some kettlebells, and they're almost sold out everywhere. It's madness.
Oh, I know. It's been like that for 2 or 3 months now.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think some companies or some businesses are really doing well during lockdown, and then some people are struggling really bad. So it just depends where you sit on the extremes at this point.
That's it. I think some of the small companies aren't getting any government assistance at all, are they? Because they seem to fall through the filter, which is not good at all. But
yeah,
I mean, hopefully some of this online training and online presentations will continue. And I know one company actually, can I say? Yeah, Logicalis. They're a very big company. They're doing from this because they've shown. Like they can now see that everybody can work online. And they're a huge company. So what they're doing now is going forward, they're going to do 1 week a month of a green week. So they're going to all work from home. I mean, there's some benefits from that, aren't there? You can save on transport and
it's good pollution. For the environment as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was really, really good. Hopefully some companies will take that.
I think it's true. Like our company is, I think that they've done surveys. So the fact that they're actually surveying staff saying, how is working from home been for you on your mental health, on your productivity and family life. So obviously there are some challenges looking after kids, for example, and some people are feeling a little bit isolated, which is understandable. But people, it seems like they want a mixture of, yes, I do want to go to the office and see people, but also I want to have some time at home as well. So I don't have to go to the office 5 days a week, you know?
Yeah, I think it helps people feel a bit more autonomous, doesn't it? They can feel a bit more independent with their work, and hopefully they can get a bit more life balance somehow. I think the mental well-being side is a big one. So maybe also when they're at home, they can more easily get for a run to the park as well on their break, which is great. For
sure, exactly. Liz, it's been so good having you on the show, and
thanks so much for having me. It's been awesome.
Yes, and I hope to collaborate with you soon one day. And all the best for your trainings and all the corporate work and the personal training you're doing.
Maybe you can help me teach me how to hang from the tree and build my core.
Yeah, I want to get some rings, but I did try it with John Nicholson. It was really hard.
They're really hard, aren't they?
Yeah, I want to get some rings, but it's just a matter of, we haven't got a massive garden, but I would like to get some kind of structure, like a steel structure where I could actually hang on it. So that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Right, Liz, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Clint.
See you then. Bye.
See you.